So today I'm going to do a video on tips for federal self-surrender. Now, interestingly, this can happen under two different types of circumstances. The first of which is you're indicted, and this becomes your knowledge publicly, but they haven't, located you yet, and you've decided to go turn yourself in. If you're a person in that first case, which I actually know someone personally who went through this a few years ago, my advisement would be before turning yourself in, go to your local pharmacy, get a printout of all your medications. If you wear glasses, dental, them clip-in dental things, partials, you can't wear contacts while you're incarcerated, so that's irrelevant. If you wear contacts, go grab you a pair of glasses real quick. Definitely wear a plain all white, if you're a woman, set of like granny panties. If you're a man, a plain all white set of just plain cheap boxers. And a plain white t-shirt. And if you're a woman, also a plain white sports bra, no metal, no extra elastic, no frills. And the reason why you want to wear these things is because in some facilities you can actually keep them if you wear them in, because they're standard issue anyway, which may save you some hassle and money. And it's always nicer to wear your underwear than underwear that 20 other inmates have worn prior to you. You know what I mean? If you're a person who has any particular medical conditions. For example, if you have a seizure condition, bad knees, bad back, anything that would require that you sleep on a bottom bunk for safety reasons, go to whatever doctor you have or whatever, and get proof of this. Get this in writing and bring it with you when you self-surrender. Also, before you self-surrender, if you know you're self-surrendering, this particular person knew they were going to self-surrender, and they knew they would be held for some point in time at the local regional jail. What I would do if I was you is, at our regional jail, you don't have to put the inmate number with the letter, just the person's name and the address, and send it. I would write, plain notebook paper, plain black pen, no frills, to make sure you get it. But write yourself a copy of all your important contacts: name, phone number, address, mailing address, and email address. And mail that to yourself at the jail on your way to the jail. So it'll get there a couple days behind you, because a lot of people nowadays don't have many phone numbers memorized. I know very few people that have phone numbers, emails, and addresses for people they would need to contact memorized. So go ahead and mail yourself that on your way to go turn yourself in, so that you'll have that information, because that will be an excellent resource for you. Also, if you have social media, right before you turn yourself in, I would go on my social media and I would announce to my friends and family, hey, I've seen that they have a warrant for me. I'm being indicted. This is the facility I'm currently at. I don't know where I'll be at beyond this. I would try to contact you as soon as possible. Our facility takes anywhere typically from 2 days to 2 weeks to process you in through booking. I would mention that. I would say that once I'm in booking, it's a good idea if you have a point of contact person, someone who can log into your social media once you're actually in the facility, and give people the information to write you or put money on your books, or email you, or get video visits, get on your visitors list, visiting days, all that information. If you know some of that information ahead of time, like our regional jail's email system is called Jail ATM, so is the commissary system. You can give them ahead of time the address to write you at, and tell them hold off until you're actually in general population to do so. And I think it's through the jail ATM system also that you can do video visits. So really just kind of inform your people and make sure you're going in fully prepared for what is to come. I personally, if you take any unusual medications, I take Armour Thyroid, which is an NDT. Most people with the medical condition I take that for take Synthroid or levothyroxine. I would also take those pill bottles in with me with some pills in them, hoping that they'll give me my actual meds for a while. Usually at our regional jail, it takes about a week for them to bother to get a pharmacy list for you and medication. So if you go in and you tell them I'm on heart meds, I'm on blood pressure meds, I'm on blood sugar meds, you're not going to get any of that for a week just walking in off the street or being arrested off the street. So you really want to go in and make their jobs easier for yourself by putting that in there. If you have a do not resuscitate order, if you are against blood transfusions for religious or personal reasons, these kind of things, bring copies of those documents as well, because you don't know what's going to happen, and you need to be prepared. Certainly have a conversation, even if it's just via phone, with some of your closest loved ones, and let them know, hey, this is what's going on and this is what I'm doing, and I'll be in contact with you as soon as I can. Please spread the word to anybody who needs to know what's up. And make sure when you go in, have some cash on you. They'll take this cash and it will get processed onto your commissary, onto your books. Now, at our facility, our nearest, regional jail, which is a really, in West Virginia, because it's a small state, we have regional jails, and each regional jail is about 8 counties in one. So, or more. But if you go in with cash on hand, then that cash gets put on your books, usually 3 to 5 days after you go in. So you want to do that as well. You want to go in with, if you can, ideally at least couple $100. If you just got $20 to your name, take it. If you got a crap load of change in your console, stop at Coinstar, get it cashed out, and go in. Because a crap full of change, they'll probably just put in your personal property or throw away and say it was lost. Because it's a lot of hassle nobody wants to deal with. So that's the first scenario in which you would be self-surrendering in the federal system. The second scenario is if you're out on pre-sentence or pre-trial release or pre-self-surrender release and you go on the run, or you're just on a post-incarceration, probation, supervised release, and you go on the run and now there's a warrant. If that is the case, I suggest the same exact steps as I did for this first type of person. Now, for many people, myself included, self-surrender will likely be a scenario that I'll be dealing with. And this will be after I'm sentenced and the federal government sends me a letter in the mail telling me when and where I need to surrender. What prison, what day, what time. In that situation, you want to do all of these same things. Now, after you've been sentenced, a few weeks later, you will show up in the BOP system online on the BOP Inmate Finder, which is how you locate federal inmates online with just their name, if you just have that, or their inmate number, if you just have that. Definitely do all the steps that are mentioned with the first person, and also research your facility. If you're a self-surrender directly to your prison, you can bring one religious book. Now, this is no frills. There can't be any marker on it, any highlighter, anything written in the columns. Don't write your name inside with permanent marker. Do it with pen. Make sure it meets all their guidelines and standards. I know the facility I'm going to allows you to wear one small, very cheap pair of studs or hoops. I've gotten in the habit of wearing mine all the time. You can wear those as a creature comfort. Inmates are not allowed to sell or exchange their property amongst the other inmates. I've heard that some do. If you're someone who would do this, potentially, not that I am. But, if you're in a pinch commissary-wise, those earrings could get you some soups and some hygiene products, maybe even some over-the-counter meds in a pinch. Most federal prisons, actually all federal prisons, allow you to wear one religious necklace. It has to be valued under $100. And the chain cannot be more than 20 inches, and this is to prevent people from being able to take it as easily and choke you out with it. Most facilities allow you to wear a plain metal, preferably like silver, or very small, simple gold wedding band. No engravements, no embellishments, no stones, nothing like that, no frills. If you're not married, I would advise still trying to wear one in. Because generally they don't check if you're self-surrendered directly to the prison, if you're married or not. If they ask, you say, yeah, they're probably not going to double check it. And again, this could be a creature comfort for you while you're in there. And if you're a person who's not opposed to breaking some mild rules and risking a write-up, maybe I'm risking going to the hole, by selling or trading personal property, then this is something that could be used as currency while you're incarcerated as well. The religious necklace, it has to be small. There are very strict guidelines. The federal BOP website outlines those guidelines very specifically. I'm wearing one in because it's what I wear every day and it meets the guidelines. And I think it'll be a comfort to me. Now, if you're a person who is not religious, if you're a person who, I don't know, you're just not religious, I would advise, Christianity is the most common religion in this country. So it's most likely the majority of inmates will in fact identify as Christian, many of which didn't get to self-surrender directly to the prison and may not have family support to the extent of them having a religious necklace. Make this silver, not gold. You don't want to make yourself a target. If you're not religious, I would say wear in a small Christian whatever, because again, this can be used later as collateral for bartering. You have to really think long game. If you're self-surrender directly to your prison, you also want to, the only dental care you're going to get in the Fed is maybe cleanings, and teeth pulled when they're so infected and abscessed they potentially become life-threatening. So get a dental cleaning. Any fillings you need done, get them done, during this time while you're on pre-sentence release or pre-self-surrender. Any medical testing that is significant that you need done, get it done. I know for me, I knew that having menses would be a huge handicap for me as a woman in federal prison. They don't always give out the free female sanitation supplies, and when they do, sometimes people bogart them to barter them later, even if they don't need them. And if you can't afford them, what are you going to do? You're going to have a little oopsie mess and maybe get disciplinary infractions for that, even though it was out of your control. I'm 40 years old. I have 2 children. I won't be having more children. I went and got what's called a uterine ablation. Google this, ladies, if you're not familiar with it. Generally, this will stop or greatly lessen your menstrual cycles altogether, without throwing you into menopause like a hysterectomy would. And it's an outpatient procedure, but you do have to have it get it done at a hospital or in a clinical setting. The recovery time is fairly quick, and even the medical card will pay for this. Typically, in order to get this, you need to report that you have an abundance of frequent heavy bleeding, and that medically justifies it. Another thing I did is, I know the glasses that you wear in cannot have frilly frames. The frames cannot be, the glasses collectively, frames and lenses, cannot be worth over $100. Additionally, they can't be like Michael Kors or Coach or Fendi or anything like that. They can't have any frills. These are actually called safety glasses. And they're called that because the frames and the lenses themselves are extremely difficult to damage or break. They're the kind of glasses people are actually advised to wear on work sites. And they were $110, I think. So they should be close enough to the $100 mark to slide me on through. Definitely get yourself some of those. Maybe get 2 pairs. So if somehow one pair gets stolen or severely damaged somehow, which I can't imagine, there's a second pair your family can send in. Keep the receipt with that. So your family can send the receipt with the glasses, preferably just to your caseworker in there, and then your caseworker can give them to you. Because if they get permission to send directly to you, the mailroom may still reject them. It happens all the time. And of course, I have a lot of videos on preparing for federal prison and preparing for your plea hearing and your sentencing hearing and your PSR and your allocution and all that. But these tips are specifically regarding self-surrender. Also, ladies, I used to keep my acrylics done, my nails done. Once I realized I was definitely going to federal prison, I got my acrylics soaked off, and I've been growing up my natural nails a little bit, getting them back healthy. When you go into prison with acrylic nails on, they will often require you cut them off. So you're going to have these jagged, nubby, really sharp ickies on your hand, or pop them off if you can pop them off. Sometimes they'll let you in the general population with your nails done. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes you'll sit and chew until you figure out a way to not have your nails done. Save yourself the hassle. And as we all know, when you get acrylics taken off, your natural nails are very damaged. Address all that before you even go into prison, if you're given this opportunity. That way it's not additional discomfort and headache for you while you're in there. What else? And of course, I have videos on preparing your loved ones for your incarceration and different things. I'm trying to think of anything I didn't specifically cover. Oh, with self-surrender, even if they say, it says on your paperwork, be there at 1 p.m. or 3 p.m., be there at the latest by like 9, 10 in the morning. Granted, they may not get to you for several hours, but if you're there earlier in the day, it is more likely that some of your intake processing will be done quicker. You don't want to be a person who, at the end of day 1, God forbid your self-surrender is on a Friday, you'll probably get stuck in the hole over the weekend. But you don't want to be a person who gets there and doesn't get processed in time, and you have to spend the night in the hole. Or if it's a Friday, you got to spend the weekend in the hole. You want to go from intake, booking, receiving, to the general population as quickly as you can. And nowadays, with the current COVID stuff, most facilities will actually have you quarantine for a while, for 2 weeks. In the facility I'm going to, they actually have a quarantine pod for receiving people, new people. And you're in that pod from anywhere from 10 to 30 days. They give you a COVID test when you come in. Then, depending on when they feel like giving you a COVID test again, maybe a week later, maybe 3 weeks later. But you have to have 2 negative COVID tests before you're released into the general population. And until that happens, you sit in this unit with a bunch of other newbies or inmates who have already tested positive for COVID. So definitely up your vitamin C and your little whatever to try to get your immune system up and really, you know, at 100% the best you can prior to incarceration. Because your body's going to have to adapt to a lot of icky nasties that you ain't used to in the free world. What else? I know your nerves are going to be really rattled, but try to eat before you go in. You know, you may get there, you know, an hour before mealtime, and you just don't get a tray because you came too close and they just didn't order it for you. If you are on your menses when you go in and you're a woman, you know, make sure you change your pad in the waiting area before you turn yourself in, or your tampon or whatever, and bring extra sanitation supplies with you. You know, at least a few. You can't bring a box, you can't bring a big bag, you can't bring a month supply, but bring a couple extra with you in your pocket and just tell them, you know, I don't want to have to bother y'all for these while I'm doing intake. So I kind of brought my own. And maybe you'll get a CO who feels, you know, like being nice that day and says, okay, go ahead and keep them. You know, you obviously need those right now. Maybe you won't. Maybe they'll take them. And of course, in my preparing for federal prison, I have a lot of videos about, you know, cover up any vulgar tattoos that may create conflict for you, that kind of thing. But again, I'm trying to specifically address self-surrender. When you're a self-surrender, you have two options to self-surrender. I'm talking about people that are pre-sentenced, get sentenced, and then self-surrender directly to their prison, like myself. Option number one is to have yourself physically at the day and time, or at the day prior to the time at the prison to self-surrender that you're designated. Option number two, if you cannot provide this transportation for yourself, you need to locate your nearest marshal service, which generally is in the same building as a federal probation office, typically federal courthouses, and you can self-surrender directly to them, and they will transport you. I'm in West Virginia. I'm thinking the camp I'm going to go to is the one in West Virginia, but they could send me to the one in Texas. If they were to send me to Texas, and for some reason I could not get transportation arrangements, and you want to be like at least 24 hours prior to your self-surrender, you know, within 100 miles of the facility you're going to, at a hotel or whatever. So any transportation issues that can pop up, the chances of you not being there on time are extremely minimal. Because if you're not on time, that's an escape charge. That's absconding. You don't want to deal with that. That's potentially more time. That's going to be a lot of hassle, a lot of paperwork for you and people that aren't going to be happy to do it. But like, let's say they send me to Texas. And let's say due to financial, you know, reasons or logistical complications, I know I can't get myself there on time. My only other option to not be an escapee at that point is to go down to the U.S. Marshal Service office, which is an hour away from my home at the federal courthouse, and go turn myself into them. This is something you want to do as a last resort. Don't think, oh, I'll save myself a few $100s in travel expenses and just go turn myself into marshals. If you're lucky, you'll get put on Con Air, which is the federal, you know, the Fed airplanes they fly inmates around on, which are extremely weird and uncomfortable. But most likely, there's a good chance that even if you get Con Air, you're still going to do some time on the Grey Goose, getting a little diesel therapy, which means now instead of getting to your home facility or prison in a matter of hours or whatever, like you would in the free world, or even a day or two, you're going to probably spend days, most likely weeks or months, being bounced around county jails that are also qualified as federal holding centers to be mixed in with a bunch of random local inmates. And all these places all over the country, they're just going to bounce you around. Some places will let you bring in your commissary from last place. A lot of places won't. Most of these places are going to have different systems for people to put money on your books or to email you. And it's going to be very difficult for your people to keep up with that, to keep any type of contact with you this whole time. It's going to not be pleasant at all, not even remotely. So you do not want to have to self-surrender to the marshals unless that is a absolute last resort option. You want to just bring yourself into your prison. So those are my tips for if you need to self-surrender to the feds, and the 3 scenarios in which this may occur in your life. Obviously, when I self-surrender, I'll probably make a video, maybe the night before, a brief one, because I know it's going to be a very, just really overwhelming time. I'll probably make a video going into, you know, right before I go into the prison to self-surrender. And, you know, when I come home and I'm able to make videos about my experience, I'll certainly let y'all know what went well for me during self-surrender, and if there was anything I didn't foresee that went particularly bad, I'll update that as well. So fly high, my phoenixes, and I hope these tips have helped some of you. And good luck on your federal journey. If you like the video, feel free to subscribe, hit the notifications bell for notifications. As you all know, in a few months, I will be going to federal prison. During that time, I will not be able to comment, post new content, nothing. When I come home, either in the halfway house or on a preset, or on a supervised release, fed probation, then I can then begin to remake new videos, and give y'all, up-to-date info on my experiences and things I've learned. So if you hit the notifications bell, then you actually see that when it happens. So, which I think is going to be interesting for you, but also for me greatly. But anywho, have a beautiful day, good day, God bless, and fly high, my phoenixes.